And hello, Blade family, and welcome to this week's episode of the Blade Family Reunion. I'm the proud current principal of East Bakersfield High School, Leo Holland, and this week I've got a good one for you. What a unique story we're going to hear from my friend Resolme. Bien is a graduate of the class of 1994. He's got a very unique path that he took to get to where he is today as a member of our faculty. I hope you enjoy it. And on the phone with us this morning is Mr. Resolme. Mr. Resolme, how are you doing?
I am fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you guys hanging in there? I know your wife is also a teacher. How are you guys hanging in there with the pandemic and distance learning and all of this?
Oh, pretty well. We had a plan initially to kind of go back and forth where she'd spend a day or two here, then I'd come because we have two of our daughters are still in school. And then she decided she just wanted to work from home. So she's got her office, and I go to school every day and work in my classroom. So it's worked out pretty well for the two of us as far as functionally. Our kids are doing well. I think they are starting to feel the pains of not being around friends.
Yeah.
I mean, they started feeling that a while back, honestly. But yeah, being in school has helped them a lot and being able to interact with their peers a little bit during class and just have something to do has been great. But overall, doing well, doing very well, and moving forward. Looking forward to this thing being over.
So, what class are you a part of? I know the answer, but for our audience, what year did you graduate?
Class of 1994.
Class of 94.
Yeah.
Okay.
A long time.
So class of 94, and what did you do after high school? How did you end up back? I know you have a unique story, so what did you do after high school for those members of the Blade family that are catching up with you right now that maybe haven't seen you in a while?
Sure. Yeah. Immediately after high school, I moved out of my parents' home and I moved downtown here, where I live today. Actually, not the same house, but downtown. I back then had three jobs at once. Loved it. I still feel like I had plenty of time. All those jobs were on 19th Street. Interesting enough, I lived on 19th Street and I worked in three separate places on 19th Street.
Wow. Okay.
For about a year and a half. And once after a year and a half, I always knew I wanted to join the Navy. I had an uncle, actually great uncle, who served in the Navy during World War II, and he had a whole wall in his house that was all like Navy memorabilia.
Okay.
And so he'd sit me down and he'd tell me stories about when he was in the service, and it stuck with me, and I always wanted to serve, specifically in the Navy. So after a year and a half of just working, I tried college back then, wasn't quite ready. Did okay, but my heart wasn't in it. And realized this is the best time, or really the only time in my life that I'd be able to just join, do my time, and fulfill that goal in my life. Right. And so I went in the Navy.
Sweet. Okay. So now, of course, Veterans Day was just a few days ago.
Yeah.
And I did mention in the staff meeting last Monday about your service. So how long were you in?
I did 4 years. I just did my 4 and got out. I knew that I loved the Navy. I still love the Navy. I have nothing but, honestly, even the bad stuff where I was kind of miserable when I was in, I look back on fondly. It was kind of a growth period for me.
Sure.
And so I did my 4. I knew that I at some point wanted to have a family, and I didn't want to have that family in the military. Because there's a lot of separation, and I knew that I wanted to be around.
Ship and stuff. Did you serve on any ships in particular or anything like that?
I was never stationed on a ship. I went out to sea a lot because every time I got the option to go out to sea, I would raise my hand and go. So I served on the Constellation, the Kitty Hawk, a couple of destroyers, and I could not tell you their names because I was only there for temporary duty. And then I was an admiral's aide for a 3-star admiral in the Middle East. He was the commander of the U.S. Central Command in the Middle East. And
wow, that is cool.
Yeah. I was his personal aide, so he took me everywhere. So we'd go out to sea together. Whenever he went to go to a ship, we'd hop in a helicopter, fly out. And so I was on a lot of ships, probably more than most people, but very temporary.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That is my one regret. I would say that I never was stationed aboard a ship. I wish I could. It's a hard life, but I wasn't afraid of hard work. So
Right.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Hmm.
So let's get back to the family. You knew you wanted to have a family. You didn't want to have a family in the service. So what did you do after that? What brought you back around to Bakersfield? What happened?
Well, when I joined the Navy, I swore I'd never come back to Bakersfield. I will never live in Bakersfield again. Then I lived in a few spots around the world and around the country,
Uh-huh.
and realized I only wanted to be back in Bakersfield.
That is so hilarious.
It was so nice to come back and just in a familiar place where I knew people and I knew the area, my surroundings. It's a very comforting feeling. And so that's the reason I came back to Bakersfield. And then I was here, let's see, I got out in August of 99.
Okay.
And on Thanksgiving Day of 99, I caught up with my now wife. So we were at a mutual friend's house. We all went to high school together. My wife and I went to high school together. As a matter of fact, I was the assistant director and stage manager for the first play she was ever in.
Okay.
And she's been in hundreds of plays since then.
Right. Yeah.
So we kind of reunited there, and we hit it off because she didn't like me much in high school. I was the assistant director and stage manager that yelled a lot, so she didn't care too much for me. But yeah, we hit it off, and it was kind of cool. We were both into theater still, and had just so much in common, and had a common history. And it didn't take long before we were a couple, and a couple years later got married, and less than a year after that had a baby.
That's so cool. Very cool, man. So, and I know that love for theater, as you just mentioned, still carries on today. So time frame wise, you met up with not your high school sweetheart, but a high school compatriot, someone who was also into theater.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
About 6 years after you graduated from high school, y'all are in the process of getting married, and you're dating and serious at that time.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 20 years then. So in the intervening 20 years, what's going on? Because I know when I met you, you weren't a teacher yet, and neither was I, for that matter. So, so what went on after that? I know you got back to East not too long after 2000, and
yeah. So I
all sorts of things happened with you because now you're a teacher. So what's going on? What happened?
So I have the benefit of experience. I've done a lot in my life. I've wore many hats. So immediately out of the Navy, I worked at Java Jazz. A lot of our teachers will remember that name, coffee house downtown, where I worked immediately after high school. I then went to CompUSA, which doesn't exist anymore, a computer store that's because I wanted to get into the computer field. And then I got a lucky break. Actually, an East High grad, Michael Moore, helped me out in getting a job as an IT/instrumentation technician in an oil field company. And Michael Moore graduated, 96, 97. Anyway, so he really helped me out with that, and so I started making decent money. I mean, it wasn't very long out of the military that I had that job, and I got my foot in the door in the IT field. And so I worked there 4 years. I worked at Era Energy for a year. Then I worked at a company where I was the IT manager called Pacific Process Systems.
I remember that name too. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I remember that name too.
Yeah,
I can't remember where I've seen it, but heard it, but I remember the name. Yeah.
They're one of the owners. He's not there anymore, but he was really involved in the community. He really liked to help out, and he would give donations to schools. He'd do barbecues for schools. So it may have been something like that because he was very much involved. He's a really good guy. But from there, I finally got the job at the district, the job I wanted, which was being an IT professional for the current high school district. And funny story, the day that I started with the district, it was November 6th, 2006. I was at the district office in the IT department, having a cup of coffee, and they just said, hang out here and wait. We'll get you going in a little bit. I'm like, great. So I'm waiting. Lunch comes, says, hey, go to lunch, come back in an hour, and we'll get you all situated. I go to lunch, come back in an hour, wait. Finally, I was called into an office by my then boss, and actually I had 4 bosses, and they set me down and say, Bien, we're sorry to have to do this to you. So I immediately think, oh my goodness, I'm getting fired. I just left a really good job to come to the high school district, and they're going to fire me my first day, and I haven't done anything but drink coffee. So I'm like, well, what's up? They said, we're going to send you to East High School. I said, what? And they said, yeah. We know that you went to high school there. We thought maybe you had some connections there, and maybe you get along with the staff, because the techs we've sent out there have not gotten along with the staff very well. I'm like, really? And so they acted like this is like they're really doing me a disservice. And and so I said, okay, well, I'm up for the challenge. And so I get to East High School, and obviously I meet back up with a bunch of my old teachers and people that I've known for a long time. And never once did I have any issue, personality-wise or with the staff. In fact, it was like coming home again. It literally was coming home again.
I bet.
And I was able to help the school out because the IT systems were kind of in disarray. So I was able to get those in shape and make old connections and new connections and just be part of my Blade family again. Yeah. And that was a huge thing for me because it's something I really needed. I hadn't had that sense of family outside of my own family, obviously, since I left the military. Because during the military, it's one big giant family.
Right.
So really nice to be back in an environment where I had that again. Because there's very few situations in life where you do have that. So that was kind of my journey. That's what led me back to East High School.
Yeah, that's a cool story. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. And there's one other thing I want to touch on before we get into those 5 questions. So, well, actually 2. The first thing is your wife is an EB graduate, and I do want to give a shout out to her. She teaches in the district, and we have different programs in the district where you visit other schools or school sites for different things. And a couple years back, I had the opportunity to have your wife do some drama exercises with a group of school administrators and parents. Yeah. It was just so fun. She's really good at what she does. So I just wanted to give a shout out to her.
She definitely is. And she had a blast that day too. Remember, she came home like glowing. She had so much fun. She was nervous.
Oh, it was dynamite. It was so fun. And she is
a bunch
so
of administrators
good.
Invading her theater. She's super nervous. And she said, you guys had a blast, and she had a blast, and it was this fun energy. So yeah, that was really cool that you guys got to do that and that she had the opportunity to do that for you.
Yeah, it was. It was a great experience. And, I knew her, but I had never had a chance to work with her professionally. I just met her through you and some of the productions that you've done at the school. And but I never had the chance to actually, be taught by her, sit in an event that she was putting on. So it was really exciting and very talented, very, very good at what she does. So it would be remiss of me not to mention that there's your wife, who is also a Blade, is doing amazing things too.
Yes, she's definitely a Blade.
Yeah. All right. And then the last thing, we have a mutual friend. One of the funniest stories that involves you weren't even present for.
Oh no.
Oh no, this is good. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. We have a mutual friend. So before I got to come back home to be the principal at East, I was an administrator at South High. I was a dean and an assistant principal of instruction there. And one of the deans that came through the school and became an assistant principal was a man named Henry Wise.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was dean, when he first showed up, Henry is very, very organized in his workspace. Everything has a place, and he came in and set up the dean's office his way, the way he wanted it to be, and decorated it with things he wanted to have around there. One of the things he had was an autographed picture of you.
Yes, he did. That lucky dog.
He said every once in a while he'd get a new one from you because he'd make up some story and give away the one he had to a kid. Hey, you don't know who this is? Oh my goodness, this is bien Resolme. I mean, this is legend here. You take this picture. Every once in a while, a kid would ask, "Who's this man's picture?" And Henry would make up some story about how amazing you were. give them the picture, and these kids would leave thinking that you're a Hollywood mogul and stuff like that. It was great stuff. So one of the funniest stories that I have about you is I walked in his office one day. I had not, right when he first came over south, and he'd finished decorating. And, of course, I knew you. And I'm like, why do you have a picture of Bien? And so he explained to me what he did with the picture. So I had to get a picture of you, too. So he sent me one as well. So that was awesome. It was very funny. Very funny.
What's funny about that is Henry used to come into when I worked at East High School, he worked in the basement as well. And he'd come into my classroom, into my office during lunch often, like once a week or so. And we would just sit and talk and laugh and have a good time. So we were always cutting up and, telling jokes. And it was a very light and fun friendship that we had. So when I left East High School, I went to West High School as a tech, and I got my picture. Francis Costas sent me my picture that was in the staff room via interdistrict mail. And I'm like, well, I don't need a picture of myself. So I signed it, and I said, "You're welcome." I signed it. I put the word "You're welcome" on the back, and I sent it to Henry. And yeah, so he got a kick out of that. So he got a couple more as I moved around.
Yeah, he did. It was. I mean, that was both classic, Bien and classic Henry. It was very funny. It was very good. That was.
I love putting it up in his office. It's hilarious.
Oh, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. And anything else you have going on, Mr. Resolme, before I get to those 5 questions? Anything else in your life you want to mention? Anything else you're doing?
Yeah. I actually, so much negative came from COVID. One of the very few positives is time. I got more time than I've ever had in my life since, oh my gosh, I couldn't remember the last time I had this much time on my hands this summer and so on. And so I've always wanted to go back to school and get my master's degree. So I talked to my wife. I said, "What do you think?" And she said, "Well, do you think you can handle the workload?" And I'm like, "I think I can. I mean, right now, at least I can get started."
Right,
get students in. And so I applied at Cal State and got accepted. And I've been there since August working on my master's degree.
So, and I ask you that, and I'm glad you shared it, because for our younger listeners, I think that kind of, at least for now, bringing us up to present in your life, I think it's hugely important for kids to hear. So if you're listening, and if I was trying to summarize your educational journey, high school went well for you, but when you graduated from high school, college, you weren't really into college yet, and you wanted to go to the service. So before you really got any college done, you served some time and kind of matured and got some of that out of the way before you went back and did some of the schooling. Would that be accurate?
Definitely accurate. Yes. I actually got to know myself a little bit. That's an important part in anybody's life is getting to know exactly who you are, because we think we know who we are, but when we sit down and actually ask those questions about ourselves, sometimes we can't answer.
Right.
Or someone asked us that question about ourselves. What's super important to you in your life? Oftentimes we can't answer that, and I can.
Right.
And because I did make that conscious effort to grow, and I knew I wasn't ready for school as much as I wanted to. I really wanted to be the first person in my family to go to school, go to college, and get a degree. My sister beat me, darn it. But I really wanted to, but I knew I wasn't ready. I didn't want to set myself up for failure.
Right.
So I did what I knew I needed to do and I wanted to do, which was go in the Navy.
And then on top of that, you left going into the Navy saying, "I'm never coming back to Bakersfield." And you ended up right back in Bakersfield. Right?
And then all I wanted to do was get back to Bakersfield.
Yeah. And I think that's powerful for kids to hear, because it proves a lot of things. One of which is that the path doesn't have to be a traditional path or a straight line or anything like that. You can do other things that are also straight lines, but eventually end up getting your master's degree. And I don't even know that that's where you're going to end. I mean, you may end up going for an EDD or a PhD or whatever. I mean, but your educational journey was not a traditional journey. It was a little bit of a windy path, and that's okay too.
And another point on that, when I was just out of high school, when I left East High School, I, like a lot of our kids, in our neighborhood. You know, I had a tumultuous upbringing, and really never was encouraged to go to school, or was ever told of the value of going to school. And so I don't know why, but I knew that I wanted to really bad. And so I knew at some point that was going to happen, no matter what. So it wasn't until my wife and I got married. She's a much smarter person than me, by the way. So when we got married, neither of us had any sort of degree or any college under our belts, really, except for a couple classes. And I said, "Oh, we can't have that. You're way too smart to not have your bachelor's degree." Not that that's a telltale sign of intelligence by any means, but I said, "Why don't you go to school? I'll work. You don't have to work. And then when you're done, I'll stop working, and then I'll get my degree." And that kind of worked. The only difference was the job opened up at the high school district.
Right.
So she got her degree, and then I got the job in the district, and I didn't want to leave that job.
Right.
So I went to school. My time. I didn't get my degree in 4 years. It took me, because I took classes here and there. I had to stop when we had a baby, you know. So I didn't officially get my bachelor's degree until 2015. I finished school basically in 2009. We had our youngest child, and then I said, "Well, I'll just take the semester off," and then 5 years later went back to school and finished off my degree. But I did it, and that's the important thing is I stuck with it. I knew this was the end result. There's no way it wasn't going to be.
Right. Yeah.
And just got it done. Yeah.
And so, and last question I'll ask before we do those 5 questions: How many kids do y'all have then? What's the makeup of your family?
We have 3 daughters. We have Abigail, who went to East High School. She is now 18 years old, and she lives in Sacramento with her uncle right now, kind of helping them out with their babies, because she wanted to get out of Bakersfield for a while, and she wasn't ready to go to school online. She wants us to go to school in person. That's really an important thing for her, is to have in-person classes.
Okay.
That being said, she's starting school in January.
Okay. Is she going to go to Sac State?
No, she's going to go online.
Okay.
Probably switch to BC. I just said, I need you taking classes. We can't be. Yeah. Then our middle daughter, Sophia, she goes to BHS. She's the president of the sophomore class. Incredibly active and involved, and so quarantine has been driving her insane because she has to stay active all the time. And she's found ways to do so, but not like she would normally. And then our youngest, our baby, Josephine, she goes to Downtown Elementary. She's in 6th grade, and she'll stay there through 8th grade. And then I think the plan is for her to go to BHS as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, are you ready, sir, for the 5 questions?
I am ready, sir.
Okay. So the first question, I think I know the answer to this, but I want to hear who you say, because I don't want to taint this at all. What teacher or staff member made the biggest difference in your EB high school education? This is not a class. This is a person.
So the main person that impacted my life the most, that is most important to me from East High School, was Mr. Al Gaines. Excuse me. I was fortunate enough to be to replace him at Easton. Not replace, but take his spot at Easton when he retired. As I mentioned earlier, had a tumultuous upbringing. Lots of instability, lots of just negativity. And when I got to East High School, so I got there my sophomore year, so October 17th of 2001. Don't ask me why I remember the date, but I do. And I met Mr. Gaines, and I was so just...
No, not 2001, 1991.
1991, sorry.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm that old, aren't I? I met Mr. Gaines, and I was just in awe of his work ethic. And anybody who's met Mr. Gaines knows the man is an animal. He is a machine. He just constantly works. Go, 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 go.
Right.
And I'd never seen that before. Never been around that. And so I'm like, well, I want that. I want to be that guy. And I was also amazed by how just intelligent he was, and his depth of knowledge in so many different areas, and his absolute eagerness and willingness to share that knowledge.
Right.
Was fascinating to me. And so I always wanted to be like that. I'm like, okay, this is the guy I want to be like. And so I really latched on to him, whether he liked it or not. And and we're still really close friends. We get along great. We, like any friendship, we argue here and there and
Right. Yeah.
and have our spats and disagreements. But he played a huge role in my life, and I would not be the man I am today. Like, literally would not be the man I am today. I think I'd have gone down a much darker path if it
Wow.
weren't for Mr. Gaines.
Wow.
Absolutely. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my other teacher that helped me out a lot, that I really respected and appreciated, was Miss Sotelo. She was
Oh,
then
yes.
Miss Powell.
Yes.
She was
Yes.
my English teacher.
Yeah.
I met her. I think I had her the second semester of that year, of my sophomore year, and I think that was like her 10th year as a teacher. But yeah, she was a lot of fun in her class. Learned a lot, and I wasn't a very good writer. She really helped me out. So shout out to Miss Sotelo.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that you gave Miss Sotelo her props as well.
Yes, definitely.
So, which class was it that made that stands out to you? What's your favorite
Drama.
class?
Believe it or not, that shouldn't be a surprise, I guess. I tell my students this story. I didn't join drama because I wanted to be an actor or because I wanted to be the center of attention. I joined drama because I like girls. And and I was painfully shy. I would not talk to girls. I was the shyest kid. Believe it or not, like, it was unreal. I could not talk to a girl. Not even like if we were partnered up in class to work on a project. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. I'm going to go into drama and learn how to talk to a girl.
Okay.
That was literally my thought process, right?
Okay.
And it worked because I'm married to a drama girl. So
Success. Yeah. Yeah.
who I met at East High School. But no, drama, I loved every aspect of it. I loved being on stage. I loved doing tech. I loved and that shows today. I own a theater downtown, the Ovation Theater, and I'm the technical director. So anything technical I do. I don't really perform anymore. I don't really feel that need. I found my girl. But I love being involved. Absolutely love it. And it's been a bummer being shut down. But like I said, the bright side to that is I'm working on my higher education.
Yeah. You found the other side of the coin. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. So I will admit, I did know of your, I figured Al Gaines would be your answer. And I figured drama would be your favorite class. So I did know that.
Yeah.
I will say that theater holds a lot of memories for a lot of people. I think you probably heard me mention that tour I gave to the class of 66. One of the places they wanted to see, and really they only wanted to really see 3 places on campus. We did a whole tour of the whole place, but really the majority of them wanted to see the cafeteria because that's where they did their dances. They wanted to see the old gym, and they wanted to see the auditorium because that's where the memories were.
Yeah.
Those 3 places. And it was neat to see the way they reminisced about the plays. Those of them who were in plays wanted to go up to the stage and be on the stage for a moment. And I know if that is your thing at East, that auditorium holds a lot of beautiful memories for a lot of Blades. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When you're involved in theater, it's a huge commitment for every person involved. The getting the sets built, getting the lighting done, rehearsing your lines, rehearsing your choreography. There's so many hours put into it. So if you and then band and choir, you're in there, you're rehearsing, you're practicing. So you spend so many hours in that building that there's no way of not having a connection to it,
Right.
and wanting to have that connection back.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it. I see it with our current students, and I've seen it with alumni. I mean, it's really cool. It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so question number 3. Speaking of memories, what is your favorite high school memory?
This wouldn't sound like someone's favorite memory, I think, for a lot of people, but I told a little of my backstory. I moved around a lot as a kid. I've been to more schools than there are years of school from K through 12. And never felt at home anywhere, ever. I just kind of felt like it's just a transition period until I go to the next place. East High was my last school in K-12. So once I got there, I stayed. And the first day I got there, I remember walking into my classroom, my current classroom. It was the drama room at the time, in Mr. Gaines's room. And I walk in, and a young man named Jeff Jones walks up to me, shakes my hand, introduces himself, grabs me by the shoulder, walks me around, introduced me to the entire class. And it was this immediate sense of just, wow, I belong here. Like, this is where I'm meant to be.
That is such an East High experience.
Right?
You know, so I'm a 92 graduate of West High.
Mm-hmm.
That would have never happened. I mean, I shouldn't say it never would have happened. I never experienced anything like that happening. It's funny because part of the reason that I fell in love with East is because of those sorts of interactions and that sort of care and love and stuff. It was one of the things.
It's an anomaly too, because why does a physical location have that kind of effect on people?
Yeah,
yeah. And it's tradition. It's our legacy. It's what we've done for 80 plus years. Are we 85 years now?
Yeah.
No, not quite. Over that? Yeah. I don't know if you knew this. I didn't realize you went to West High.
Yeah.
So you and I went to school together. I went to West High freshman year.
I would have been there your freshman year, yeah.
Yeah, because I went from there. I was there until like March. Then I went to Arvin High School for a little bit. And then I ended up at East High. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been there.
Classmate.
Yeah.
Small world.
And I guarantee you, your freshman year at West, you did not have an experience like that. You know?
I did not.
Yeah, I mean,
not at all.
And I'm not saying that West at that time was bad or anything like that, because I don't feel that way. But I can say that tradition of caring for people that are brought in isn't. I don't, and I'm not even going to say that it's unique to East, but it's certainly a part of the fabric of East. That whole family thing, that acronym that we use, that was already there. We just, took it on for this purpose of the MTSS mission and those sorts of things. But it was already present at East. That whole family care for one another and taking care of other Blades and other East High students, that was already there.
Definitely.
So
yeah, that was, and again, that was a very important moment, because I remember thinking how cool is that somebody, they didn't have to. There was no link crew back then. He just walked up, being pleasant, being nice, and introduced me to people that I still know to this day.
That's awesome.
That one encounter, yeah.
That is awesome. That is a quintessential East High experience, in my opinion. That is something you see at our school.
Agree completely.
Okay, so these two questions are really for our younger listeners as well. What is one piece of advice you would go back and give yourself right before you started your freshman year, and then what advice would you give for kids now?
Okay, well, let me start with the advice I did give myself. Consciously going into high school, because it's a big deal to go from junior high to high school. It really is, and it's such a life-changing experience for so many. I told myself and forced myself to get out of my comfort zone, because I was such a shy kid, and that's a product of, like I said, going from school to school to school and never developing close relationships with other friends, not having a stable friend group. So I forced myself. That's why one of the reasons why I went into theater. I remember I was at West High School, and there was an audition my freshman year. I mean, it's like fall of my freshman year of 1990, and I'm going to go audition for a play. And here's a kid who I was not a very good student. I'd never done anything like that. I didn't even tell my parents I was doing it. I'm going to go. And I went, and I saw the flyers all around DeMello Hall at 3:30 p.m. Come audition. Went to DeMello Hall at 3:30 p.m. Every door was locked. Knocked on doors, couldn't get in. Like, oh my goodness. It didn't happen for me then. So,
wow.
But I kept going. I persevered. I was persistent about it, and I got into theater, and it changed me dramatically. It got me out of my shell. That Mr. Gaines, a couple of close friends, James Mongold from high school, at East High School, that really helped make me the man I am today, and brought out my personality.
Uh-huh.
So that's the advice I gave myself. If I were to go back, um, I would say I would tell myself to believe in myself more.
Uh-huh.
Um, again, when you move from school to school to school, you're constantly behind. There's
Yeah.
never any chance.
Yeah.
And as a kid, when you're not keeping up with the work and you don't understand what's going on, you think you're stupid. And I thought I was stupid, and it was a hard thing to get past. And I would tell myself, my younger self, you're not stupid at all. You got through your bachelor's, and it really wasn't that difficult for you. I got
Yeah.
mostly A's, and at some point you'll be working on your master's and hopefully complete that. And I have no doubt that I will. So I would tell myself that.
That's awesome. Awesome. Great advice. We have, it's not a huge population, but we do have students, as you're aware, that do move frequently, that have that experience. And, if anyone's listening who is not in the education field, adults, you have to think back to, the fact that when you move from school to school, the pacing at different schools is different. Even though the state sets guidelines, where schools are, classes are within those guidelines, or what they're emphasizing or focusing on can vary widely in younger grades. And it really could keep a kid lost for, if you're moving frequently, you could be lost forever. It's like you said.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, definitely. And I was behind, and it took a while to get caught up, and I did that at East High. East High helped me out a lot. I went from general classes to college prep classes. I was never an AP student. I was never an honor student in high school, but I did move up, and I did feel that sense of accomplishment, and that meant a lot to me. And I learned that I'm not stupid, and that it was just I was a product of my situation, and I had to get myself out of that situation. I had to break that cycle.
Okay. And what would you say to an incoming freshman now?
I would say the exact same advice I gave myself, which was get out of your comfort zone. Make it a point to get out of your comfort zone. And for some kids, that's super easy. They thrive on new challenges and things. Others don't. Others are a little more reserved.
Yeah.
And I would say, yeah, join a club. Do something that you wouldn't normally do. Get involved in theater. Get involved in the sport. Challenge yourself. Constantly challenge yourself, and prove yourself wrong. Daily of the things that you can do, and that's so important to for your self confidence. Just in life in general, for your ability to learn in the future, that's important. So yeah, constantly challenge yourself, get outside your comfort zone, and always move forward.
All right, very good. And then the last question. This one, I don't know what you're going to say. I think a lot of times I have an idea of what I'm going to hear, but I want to hear how you say it. What does it mean to you to be a Blade?
Well, being a Blade is my constant. It's something I've always had. So when in the military, I felt that camaraderie. I mean, it was you can't help but not, and it's an amazing feeling. But once you're out, you don't get it back. You can't walk onto a base and eat lunch with one of the military members. You can always go back to East High School. You can always go see a show. You can always go watch a game. You can always get involved in some way or volunteer and still be a Blade. So we say, we're a Blade, we're the Blade family. That's true for life. And I honestly feel that. I deeply feel that. And I'm so proud to be back at East High School. I'm so proud that I got to be a Blade as a high school student, be a Blade as a classified employee working in the tech field. I'm incredibly honored and humbled to be a teacher in the same classroom where all this stuff happened to change my life. So being a Blade to me means continuity. It means growth. And it definitely means family. I mean, our acronym is amazing. When I saw that it was family, I was like, that's perfect. I mean, for me, in particular, yeah, definitely. So It definitely means that it is East High School, and being a Blade is my constant by far in life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, Mr. Resolme, that's the end of the 5 questions. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or any other stories or advice you want to share for our audience before we get off the phone?
I think for our students, my I know the advice of get out of your comfort zone and all that. It can be repetitive. They've probably heard that 1,000 times,
Mm-hmm.
but always move forward. Always, always, always move forward. Even when you're knocked down, you just keep moving forward. It happens to the best of us. And I think it's so important that we can have that character and that sense of pride in ourselves to keep moving forward and to learn from our mistakes and accept our mistakes, accept and own them. Um, like the question, what would I advise myself um, when I was younger? I had to think about that one a lot because I would not change anything in my life. I like where I'm at, like who I am, and I have worked hard to get where I'm at. So I hope that others can feel that same way, that they keep working hard and keep pushing forward, and that when they get to my age, they go, wouldn't change a thing. I think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good, man. Well, Ben, I got to tell you, I appreciate your time on this Sunday morning.
Absolutely.
It's fun. It's fun to talk to all of our staff members, but again, you have a unique story to share, and so I appreciate you taking the time to share it with our audience. And
Absolutely. Happy to share it too. Anytime.
yeah, yeah. All right, my man. I'm gonna hit the stop button and let you have the rest of your Sunday.
Alrighty.
And like I said, Blade family, what a unique story Bien had to share with us. That was great catching up with him. I hope you enjoyed it, and probably most importantly, I hope we have some students out there who get inspired by hearing Mr. Resolme's path. There is no one right way to do life, folks. There's a lot of right ways to do life, and Mr. Resolme's story certainly brings some light to one of those right ways. Hey, listen, like I say every week, I'm happy to do this as a labor of love. I enjoy talking to my faculty members. They all have a great story to share. But I also want to make sure we get some money going for our kids, do some summer programs, and also for some scholarship money for those principal scholarships. So if you're so inclined, please give our finance office a call at EB, talk to Mrs. Memmering, and let her know you want to make a donation. That money will go to helping out our current blades to be even better blades. We're still the home of scholars and champions. And until next week, I'm signing out. This is Leo Holland, principal of East High. I love you all, and go Blades. 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 Blades.